So I think that your comments have been absolutely wonderful, both of you, and I agree largely with them. In a very practical sense, as a parish priest, one of the questions that comes up in my mind is, which laity? Because I grew up in a diocese that was in shambles, in a parish that had a lot of lay involvement by people who seemed to impose themselves upon us and were trying to force a cultural agenda that the parish wasn't interested in. I know this is a loaded term, I don't want to use it as such, but a sort of spirit of Vatican II agenda that was, and it's a miracle that I'm a priest as a result of this, because we didn't go to church very much as a result. And I've served in parishes where I've had laity who it's like, yes, these people are great to work with, it's wonderful, I want to put everything in their hands and do nothing but write homilies. And, because the bishop moves us, I've served in parishes where I have been under the assault of the laity simply for doing what the missal says, without any embellishment. So which laity are we to choose, and how are we to choose those people to lead us in the way that the Council truly envisioned as enshrined in John Paul II and Benedict?
Well, I don't have a simple answer to that. I do think one way we should not choose them is to have most of the sort of a lot of the laity have gotten. I'm not an expert in the modern situation. I am a historian. The chanceries themselves sometimes choose the laity who have influence at various levels, right? I mean, so it's the laity that sometimes emerge in some context are not necessarily being chosen by a mix of people within the church. So I don't think. I mean, there are many cases of sort of faithful lay people, their initiatives being, a big NO coming from chanceries or coming from a higher level in the church. So I feel like if we had a more lay involvement, you'd have a larger mix of it. You'd still have various issues. I wouldn't say otherwise. But I'm also not comfortable leaving the status quo as it is exactly because, I mean, we have clearly before us, we can't necessarily trust the hierarchy per se either. So, I mean, you can sort of give lots of examples of lay people going amiss, running amok, as you might put it. But we have plenty of people with actual control in the church also running amok or not doing their job properly. So I feel like if more of us were involved in some way, some of these problems would sort themselves out, maybe more at a local level instead of having to make it a kind of, the whole church needs to be involved in every single instance of it. So I don't know. I don't know if you have something to add to that more.
It's easy for me to say because I'm not a pastor or in a position of responsibility with that, but I know that in canon law, the pastor is responsible for everybody in his territory, Catholics and non-Catholic. Obviously his relationship to the different people in his territory will be different. But my instinct in that sense is to say, you don't get to choose your laity. You have to work with what you have. I'm a father. I love my sons. Sometimes they can drive me up the wall. I can drive them up the wall. I don't get to choose my children. I have to, and they don't get to choose me. And we're in this together. And I think that in this sense, there's a tension that can hopefully be productive, although it can be divisive, which is that you have to go out to the one that is lost. Obviously, you have to attend to everybody, including the people who are most frustrating. At the same time, there's also a way in which Jesus is at certain points willing to let people go. Not willingly, but he won't back down about the bread of life discourse. He could have held things together by softening things, but he doubled down. And he did so because of something of crucial importance was at stake. And how a pastor negotiates that or works that sort of tension between attending to everyone, including especially the lost sheep, but then also being able to draw a line or say this is what we need, and then in a particular way having backup from his bishop is important with that. priests really, I've seen this more and more, just how much even priests who aren't necessarily close to their bishops, they really feel it when they don't feel that the bishop has their back. It's a real profound wound and a pain for them. And so in that sense, I think you've got to go for all the lay people. You also need the pastoral wisdom over time to know when you say, we can't go further than this. And that's the art of pastoral leadership, I think.